Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting. I'd like to welcome members of council, members of staff, members of the media joining us today in the gallery, and everybody joining us virtually. We'll begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We'd like to recognize that we're in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishpahn First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community in the province of Ontario. Thank you, and Miigwech. We will now move on to disclosure and pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, I'll remind all council that they can declare at any point in the meeting. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda. Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, delegations and presentations. 4.1, 2026 to 2027 draft operating budget. Mrs. Rainville, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Let's bring up the presentation in a moment. So what's being presented to you today from the Treasury Department and staff would be for the 2026 draft operating budget, as well as some numbers that are in there for the 2027 year as well.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's working.
Last time.
It's working.
The duplicate slide thing was a problem. No, not on the Zoom. It wasn't. Sorry.
I think it's still doing it. That's okay.
I didn't do it, so we'll see. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So we're gonna start with the strategic planning. So this is a slide that you're gonna see next here is when council had already approved the next part of it. For what your plans and goals were for the next 2026 to 2027 year. So I want to include that in here. Next slide. All right, so the budget process. So when we are preparing the budget, staff do a lot of looking at previous year's expenditures that we had spent, as well as conducting any line-by-line reviews and to make decisions.
I can get rid of it. Sorry, Heather.
Go back on that, please. Thank you. So where was I? Sorry, with a line-by-line review of the operating budget to support any decision-making based on accurate and ongoing financial data. Any new projects that will have any financial impact. So we're assessing any new initiatives and capital projects, including their impact on the levy and long-term financial planning. We look at priority setting, so distinguish between your essential needs and non-essential items to ensure that resources are directed toward the most important municipal services and projects. And any alignments with our current strategic plan as well as our asset management plan. So something to consider for the 2026 for pressures on the municipality. So we do have an increased contribution to infrastructure and funding gap. We do have overdue accounts and non-payment of property taxes similar to the 2025 year. We did add an additional $360,000 to the operating for the 2026 year, which is approximately 6% levy increase just to cover for that. Increase in our external board costs, so the OPP policing did go up 11%, and Beaumont Health Unit did also go up about 8%. Increase in insurance costs. The ADSAT budget, so we do continue to pay more than our fair share. So there is still a strong reliance on that Power Den grant that we do hope that we still get every single year. The current value assessment. So what this is saying is that the Ontario government continues to postpone the province-wide property assessment update. So what this does, it results in assessments still being based on the 2016 value. So for us, it is a decrease in our revenue sources because the assessment's not based on market share value right now. So it is really deteriorating us in what we can do going forward, but it is out of our control. Capital purchase in construction. Those costs continue to rise. And looking at the asset long-term budget is not keeping up with our capital needs. So very similar when we were dealing with the asset management plan, that you guys are aware that it is, we do need to increase everything in order to make our capital needs.
I just want to interject, Heather. I think this is important. This is a really important slide to just kind of stop and make a note of kind of what is in our control. Because you mentioned it for the current value property assessment, but I think it's important to note that the increased external board costs, the OPP policing, as well as the Algoma Health Unit, that's also not within our municipality's control. In fact, the OPP policing was capped. That's a cap at 11%. Those costs cannot go higher than 11%. And council will remember that last year we faced a 28, I believe. I'm looking at Maureen to validate. And the province gave us a one-time grant.
Yes.
But now that was over, the province committed to a cap of 11%. So we can be guaranteed to, or expect an 11% increase. The ADSAB budget that was discussed in our strategic planning session, and we've spent a number of years lobbying and advocating. And it was discussed that, okay, we've done our fair share. We haven't received any success on that issue, and we've decided to, as a council, we've decided to focus our attention in other areas. So I think that is also something that we're just going to learn to live with and accept. And it just is what it is. So I think it's pretty important to note those things.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor. Absolutely. And really, a lot of our pressures are out of our control and something we have to go with. On the other side, we do have some positives. So our MAT tax revenue will be going up another $150,000 this year. Our OMPF grant did go up $126,900 in 2026. So we didn't replace the asset management coordinator, so that's about $80,000 in the salary that we are going to be able to hold back. We did switch the transit from consultants starting in May to run through in-house, and so it's saving approximately about $20,000 there in consulting fees. The FedNR grant, we're still receiving for the economic development officer, so that's about $97,000 we get for that grant and about $45,000 for 2027. We are adding more to our long-term funding, and large projects are able to get done because of the grant funding that we have been receiving for the 2026 year, because we did receive quite a bit of grant funding this year. And operational improvements made by staff to contribute to cost savings and stronger long-term planning. So we really have been focusing on that. So just give council and Mayor just a little bit of update, because I'm not sure if you've ever really seen, but the property assessment, this is what our property assessment is for our town. So 62.1% of it is based on residential. Then you got commercial at 34.44, and then multi-res at 2.31. And industrials at 0.79, and then farm and aggregates at 0.14% of our assessment. So I wanted council to really look at this, because when it comes down to the proportionments of where the taxes and who ends up paying it, industrial is a really big driver as to where the allocations and where the tax ratios can drive. So right now our industrial is only at 0.79, so hence why residential ends up getting a lot more of the tax part. And to consider, a 1% tax rate increase for us is about $56,593. So just keep that in mind when we go forward and when we propose the increase for our taxes. So the levy requirements for the 2026 budget, we need a requirement of $5,879,623. So this is an additional levy revenue of $220,276 compared to our 2025 year. So this results in an increase of 3.89%. The capital levy requirement, we went with 200,000 this year as opposed to 100,000. So that is going up a rate of 1.8%. And it's just in here just saying the increase of the tax rate will address our operational needs and continue to grow our strategic planning, and it ensures a balance the current financial requirements and long-term growth strategies. So how does the 3.89 municipal rate increase and the 1.8% capital levy increase affect ratepayers? So I wanted to put the slide in here just to show comparison for all municipal levy, including the education rates as well as the capital levy. So if you're currently assessed at an $80,000, your annual increase will be $131.93, which is a $10.99 monthly increase. If you're at 100,000, you're looking at $164.91 annually at $13.74 per month. Or if you're at 120,000, you're looking at $197.90, which is $16.49. So over the next few slides, this is the overall budget that we have right here. So it's just to show per department that we are looking at a total budget of $15,911,272. So both being balanced, so it's both on the revenues and the expenditure side, and just showing the difference between for each department. So overall, we are looking at a 0.07% increase from the 2025 year. So on here, I'm just showing the revenues per department. So just make a little notes on for the finance, taxation, and the boards. So there was that increase in the OMPF allocation. This also includes the 3.89% levy increase. For the admin for 2025 to 2026 year, it has gone down for the revenues, but that is us discontinuing some asset management that we had planned in 2025 to municipalities and reducing of land sales. So we knew of some land sales last year. This year, in 2026, we weren't expecting any land sales. Fire and building, there is an increase. It's gone up because of the fire safety grant that we got in 2026. Community services, it does show it going down, and that is because in 2025, we did do the marina divestiture budget. So it was $500,000 that was budgeted, both revenues and expenditures. But I am going to show you the next slide that if we decided not to have that in the budget, just to show that the community services actually would be going up in revenues at 31.67, and that is because of the additional 150,000 for the MAT, as well as the transit being moved over to that department. And then on the expenditure side, so taxation is pretty much at that 0.07, just a small decrease. And that is still considering that bad debt and increase into the external boards. The admin council and IT, reduction in some special projects, so the expenditures have gone down there as well. For the fire building and planning, the truck was moved from the IS budget over to the building department, so that's the truck that Kevin uses for that area. So the expenditures will be going up because of that reason. And again, the tourism, it has that 500,000 divestiture in 2025, so that's why it looks like it's going down. Infrastructure, building equipment, fuel, and then water and sewer is going up because of the Algoma and Gamley Street project. Again, if we remove the divestiture of the community services, it is showing that it is an increase in expenses because of the MAT in transit. All right, and there's our 2026 payroll costs. So there's a comparison from 2023 to the current budget of 2026. Not a whole lot of changes, which is good. It is basically still in the 2% COLA increase. There is a reduction in admin, and that is due to the treasurer being replaced at a lower level, and that asset management coordinator is not being replaced. And just note that retiree benefits and any funding, including like student funding, is not included in the payroll numbers.
Is this a good
Sure.
point to stop for questions? Counselor, are there any questions on the information we received before we jump into the operating budget?
One question.
Yes, please.
The 150,000 for the MAT,
Yes.
Is that our share or the total that was brought in?
So the total that we were budgeting for is 300,000 total, with 150 keeping it in our share and 150 going.
Councillor Pano, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Councillor Cannon?
Nothing.
Councillor Hatfield?
I don't understand bad debt when you say,
So this is taxations that we're not able to collect. So we consider that bad debt that we have to cover, right? In order, because we're not receiving it coming in and we do have to cover it. So we are budgeting for the anticipation of not receiving that.
thank you.
Heather, I did have a question with regards to the community services and tourism. The 2026 budget revenues, since it's an aggregated amount, what portion can be attributed to the increase in user fees? And is it significant? You don't have, that's just a yes or no. You don't have to give me $245 or whatever.
I think I could attempt to answer, Mayor. We couldn't give you a percentage at this time. As we presented the schedule of fees a couple meetings ago, we haven't had, through our director, opportunity yet to meet with the curling club and the users, so there's no fees yet determined for the rental of the arena ice and curling come September. So I know Alex is trying hard to get you a specific answer, but we will have to get that number back to you, knowing that we haven't set those fees yet.
Okay, I guess that's it. That's the answer. Okay, thank you very much. If there's no other questions, we'll move on into the tax-supported operating budget.
Yes, so just some notes when we go through the next few slides. I'm not going to go into any details like specifically per line, but just some notes to keep in mind that salaries are never budgeted per item, like per line item. So they are budgeted just under the department's admin area. And then when the work is completed during the actual paying portion of it, they do allocate it to the specific area. So then at the end of the year, we know exactly the actuals that fall under each area. Also to keep in mind too is the 2025 actuals or estimates right now. We are still doing our year-end entries. So there's still quite a few entries that still need to happen. So when you're looking at the 2025 actuals, they're not even close to being done yet. So just keep that in mind as well. So I won't go through, I think, every single slide. Like we did talk about the finance area and the OPMF increase for our revenues as part of that there. The administration section has to do with us not doing any further some of the projects that we had held back, so that has gone down. I will note, if you get down to like the infrastructure, on the presentation that was provided to you guys, the 2025 actuals and the 2025 budget showed the exact same numbers, so there was an error, which has now been corrected. And also keep in mind too, when we're dealing with any kind of snow related, if you're looking in specific for snow related, that it does fall under roads, heavy equipment and equipment. So depending on where the allocation of the salaries and the maintenance gets placed. In the water and sewer section too, there was increases to reserves and for the Ganley Street project. So that's what the difference is between the 2025 and the 2026 year. Did anyone have any specific questions in relation to any of those direct slides?
The,
Ganley,
Algoma,
Algoma.
that, I noticed, that grant, because that's a 2-year project.
Yes,
So that money is for the 2 years.
yes. And it has been budgeted, I think we went 50-50 on that. So 50 in 2026 and 50% in 2027.
Any other questions? Is there anything that you would like to highlight?
So other than just speaking directly to what I had mentioned earlier in regards to the differences between 2025 and 2026, I didn't have anything further to highlight per line item.
Okay.
You could, yeah? Yeah. Okay, so Go ahead.
So if you take a look at, this is our summary page for the community services and tourism budget. If you see that very top line item that says revenue MMCC, and then you've got 256 in red, compared to the 2025 actual value, the 2025 final budget of 240. Wow, I need glasses now. That's terrible.
It happens just like that.
So basically what that shows is that we're estimating that the user fee increases will result in about $15,000 of additional revenue at the community center. Now that's broken up between a couple things. So some of those increases are due to the increase in advertising that we've secured. So we have increased our board signs, our in-ice advertising, the curling rink, things like that. So a portion of that, and off the top of my head, I'm gonna say around $5,000 is due to that advertising increase, whereas the remainder of that is gonna be a combination of increase in user fees as well as an increase in the volume of bookings at the community center. So just for an example on the revenue side and a good news story, at the very end of our ice season, when the men's Bonspiel is going on, Waiwa Minor Hockey has booked a 3-on-3, and they've completely filled it. So we have ice times running from 8 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night that weekend, which is gonna result ice time booking wise of about $7,500 in additional revenue right at the end of the season there. So some of those things are not necessarily because the user fees have gone up, but because more bookings have happened at the community center, and exhibition games would be another example of that.
Awesome. Alex, in the same 2026 budget line, the 417,102, that's quite an increase from the previous final budget of 260,510. Are you able to account for that increase?
Just in the tourism line there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the mat funding.
the mat.
Oh, that's the math.
That's the mat,
Yeah, so to note, the mat is recorded, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather,
Yeah.
but the mat is recorded as that 300,000 as revenue, and then 150 of that is recorded as expenses to go towards the third-party entity. So it looks like we're getting an extra 300 grand, I mean, which we are, because we are collecting it, but then 150 of that goes to the third party.
I will state in the budget though, it does show 300 as being an expense as well because we do move it into a reserve. So it doesn't stay within the operating, it does get moved out.
How long did it take, I'm sorry,
Councillor Hatfield?
how long did it take to get the 300,000? Like, what's the,
1 year.
We're budgeting for a year.
oh, the whole
Yeah,
year?
Yeah,
Oh,
all 4 quarters.
okay, sounds low.
The winter months are much lower in the community, so we receive the bulk of our money between the period, April to September. And Heather will give a future report on, because last year wasn't a full year,
Okay,
on what a full year might bring in, but it's based on April to December 25, and then it'll be January to March. So we won't have those figures till April, what a year might look at, but that is our estimate, and it appears we'll be very, very close to that.
oh, good, okay. Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Are there any other questions?
I just have a comment.
Councillor Cannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, the way this budgets have been set up, with the presentation, is so much easier to understand. Like when we did the capital budget, when you went, department to department to department, it's so much easier, and it makes you, this doesn't, like the line by line doesn't really matter. What matters is the bottom numbers. But I congratulate you. I have never understood a budget more than this year. So, well done.
I'd like to comment too, Mayor.
Councillor Hatfield?
For years, I've been on council, I always said, I don't understand the budget, and I was scared of it. And then this year, I thought, I am going to understand, and boy, what a year to start really learning, because it's right there. And you have no idea how much that means to really understand. When people say, well, what about this much? And you say, well, that's interesting, because you know what it cost? And not that I have the answers all the time, but I appreciated it too, Heather.
Thank you.
Alex, I have one other question, and sorry, please. Please bear with me. Under the line item for parks, the variance from 578 to 112.
That's the marina divestiture.
These are all easy ones, eh?
No, that's great, keep the easy ones.
Okay, so I think if nobody else has any other questions, we'll go on non-tax supported.
All right, so the non-tax supported is the water and wastewater because it is its own budget because it does have to balance on its own. So here you will see the differences between them would have to be the increase in our rates because of the user fees that we do need for the Gamley Street project. So there is some changes there, as well as some other transfers over into the reserves is another big one that we're doing as well for that. And then any questions on that specifically? Because the next slide will tell you kind of where we're at with consumption-based and what our rates we're looking at doing. So here's the breakdown for how we've been doing since we started water meters. So in 2020, that was what our usage was at 348, 332, and it has gone down until 2025. It's starting to go back up again. Reason? Not really entirely sure what the reason is behind it, but it has gone up about 17,000 cubic meters. So how it's going to affect rate? So the rate itself, we are looking at doing, it's an overall 8% increase for water and 4% for sewers. So monthly, looking at about $5.45 with a total of $65.45 per year for a standard household that uses 70 cubic meters a year. So overall, I'll speak quickly, sorry, thank you, Maury. This is just showing the variable rate increase. I didn't show the breakdown for all of the flat rate increase because it does vary based on the meter size. So this right here, overall, the whole water section of your bill is 8% and 4% for sewer is what we're recommending.
Any questions?
No.
All right, and here's your summary. As I stated the last meeting, I was gonna bring back the summary of the capital, just so you guys have aware. Now, there is some changes that I will talk to as well, but here's what we're looking at for projects for the next 2 years. For the 2026 year, it's 5.4 million, and for 2027, we were looking at 9.65 million. Now, you'll state that the 5.4 is down. Initially, I had said it was a 5.77 million is what initially I had presented. And I'm jumping slides right now on you. So right now, this is a long-term. So here's the thing that I want to also bring up, which also changed because we did put more money into the long-term planning as well. So after doing that operating budget, we were able to put some more money away for things like the fire truck and hall renovations or whatever else we need. This is just the breakdown again, just a note that these are just estimated as entries are still being completed, but this is where we're looking for our reserves for 2026 being at 14,254,444 at the end, and then at the end of 2027 down to 11,626,001. And here's the changes. So overall, things have just been moved a little bit. Additional 310,000 was added to long-term planning for 2026, an additional 430 added to 2027. Other funding, things have been moved out of the other funding, which was the water user fees, moved from there over into taking it from reserves instead, just to try to keep that water rate at that 8% increase. All right, so 2026 options. So we are looking at approving the 2026 budget with an increase of the 3.89% levy and the 1.8% for capital, 8% for water, and 4% for sewer. So that is recommended. Now, council does have the option to reduce the number of capital projects required. That's tax supported. Review, reduce, or eliminate any programs or services. Increase user fees further to move to a full cost recovery. Eliminate the 1.8% capital levy increase as well. Those ones are obviously not recommended for future, but it is an option as well that we can look at. And the next step, so two options, presented both the capital and the draft already as of today. So option one would be to do the public input and comments for both budgets from March 4th to the 13th to bring back to council on the next meeting on March 17th. Or option two would be to hold it from March 4th to the 29th and then bringing it back for approval on the April 7th meeting.
So Mayor, if I may, sorry, the rationale for giving council two options to consider tonight goes to the comments we received during the strategic planning sessions and relating to communication. And there's lots of different ways, and there were a lot of great suggestions from council on how we can do better in terms of involving the community and getting feedback. So if council wanted to do some extra sessions with the community in person or online, it would take us a little more time to do those kinds of things. If council feels the budget appears reasonable and we're not anticipating a great amount of public input based on the previous years, 2 weeks is normally sufficient. So it's to give council those options on considering how much public engagement time you want to set aside. Thank you.
That was gonna be my question. Why do you feel it's advantageous to do the 2 weeks versus the kind of month of March?
So for staff, basically, we can move forward with the capital project. So the longer we wait for the approvals of the budget to move forward with going to tenders on capital budgets or purchasing equipment, the longer we have to wait, the more expensive it may become, the harder it is to get quotations, especially for construction. So that is an advantage on its own, just on the capital side. On the operating side, on March 17th, we would bring the schedule of fees as well to council, which, you know, is also a part of the budget. We're still charging at old rates until that's approved by council. So the user fees are a little bit behind, so it helps with the operating revenues. Also gives, you know, the community time to prepare for the next tax budget, the tax billings that go out, and some time to prepare. You know, and on the other side, it just, you know, there's a delay between March 17th, the next council meeting's not till April 7th. That's why there's such a gap in the timeline, but council may want to have a special meeting. The treasurer discussed maybe having a March 24th special meeting just to approve the budget. So there's lots of scenarios, and there's, I think, good reasons for all approaches, but we do feel as a staff that, you know, we've talked to the public in creating this budget. We had budget consultation during the capital side. We don't feel or believe that there's going to be a lot of public input into this, but one never knows.
Was there any public engagement during the capital budget process? And there generally isn't a lot of engagement, right? Correct?
Correct.
Councillor Hoffman, your thoughts? 2 weeks versus 30 days?
Option one.
Councillor Opato,
I agree with that.
with option one?
Option one, yeah.
Councillor Canada?
Thank you, Mayor. Option one, I agree with, going forward.
Councillor Hatfield?
Option one. I do have a question there.
Councillor Hatfield, go ahead.
When you talk about fees, Lori, you're just mentioning curling and what?
Ice rink. So when we brought the schedule of fees to council, there were a few places that we had indicated under review that they were mainly related to recreation fees, because the director asked for more time to consult with the users. So because the fees for curling and the ice surface activities aren't in place and become new until September 1st, until the new season, he asked council for extra time to get input. So I only specified those because in the scheduled fees to come, it will still say under review unless we hear from those groups by March 17th. There was another section though that was under review, and that has to do with the tipping fees related to the to the landfill and the non-resident.
Extra pickup. Yeah.
Oh, extra pickup piece, sorry, thank you. At the time, we gave council the original user fees. That was under review too, and we hope on March 17th to have a further report to council on the additional pickup fees that we're recommending. I hope that answers the question.
Please bear with me, because what you're doing at the arena is, what about the dance and all those other things? Do they go up too?
They were recommended up, and depending on the rates, they varied and increased between 3 and 10%, I believe. They were in the user fees.
Okay, because I don't have the user fees, and I meant to tell you to print them for me. So anything at the arena is going to have to go up a bit, not just one or two things, like you share it between everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's something somebody asked me, and I said yes, but they're listening tonight supposedly, so.
Absolutely, all fees are recommended for an increase, and we're happy to send council and put the user fees out on our website for people to look at, and there's comments that would be invite before the March 17th council meeting. But specifically, as council knows from history and speaking with the users, the fees around curling and around the hockey use time, we like to give those people who are engaged in those activities a little more time, and they've demanded more time from council in the past, just to have their say. It's always, a process, not always difficult, but there has to be opportunity for us to recommend to these groups the rates that are required to maintain the services we do have at the arena, but plus, them relaying to Alex, how much money they're able to raise their fees by. So it's just a balanced approach. So we just ask for a little more time.
Oh, so,
Again, because those rates don't come into effect until September 1st, we have a little more time with those.
so you meet with the curlings and all that, curlers and that, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Khan?
So you want us to pass the schedule of fees possibly on the 17th with some that are still under review, like the water and waste and everything? Or is that going to have numbers beside them?
They will have numbers once we've received council's initial feedback tonight. Staff will input the water rates as proposed in tonight's budget, which essentially are about 8% on the water side and 4% on the sewer side. Those will be in the schedule of fees. So we will send out another draft. We had sent it out before looking for input, but we'll send it around with those. For the curling and the ice user fees, they'll just show the existing rates, because those rates stay right until August 31st. Then we'll bring the schedule of fees back to council for an amendment on those items under review at a future date.
Okay, yeah, because I just have trouble saying okay to something when you don't know the numbers. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't like to pass something and then find out that it's going to be a big increase, or, because we're the ones that are going to get the slack from it. If it's a big increase, and I don't like to pass something when I don't know what I'm passing.
I totally agree and appreciate that. So in terms of just specifically speaking about the curling and ice again, they'll have the existing rates, because those rates are in effect till the end of August. And so there'll be no proposed increases to them. But once public consultation takes place, we will come back to council to ask to amend the schedule of fees for those areas that are still under review.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'll ask Heather for, I guess, closing comments, summary comments.
Thank you.
Or Maury. Maury, would you like to, for closing comments on the operating budget?
Well, as always, Mayor, and as always, the feedback from council is very appreciative. I know that several council members, went to Heather and had some questions on whether it be a line-by-line item or an overall budget impact, and we appreciate that all of council was very engaged in this budget. And I think it goes without saying, as I know Mayor, you and council would agree, it was a big task for our treasurer to put together her very first budget, although she was always working on the budget in the past. It's the first time she led the process. So we offer her as a team our congratulations and our appreciation and thanks for doing a job well done. I think this budget really meets council's goals, meets the strategies and challenges that we face as a community, but meets what council would like to see from a budget. I think if you compared and did a little search out in the World Wide Web, you'll see that our proposed tax rate is mainly below what other municipalities are doing, but at the same time, our treasurer recognizes along with the team that we need to save more for a long-term funding because there's a lot of projects to come. So I think it meets the goal. So through you, Mayor, I just want to recognize Heather for the job well done.
Yes, thank you very much, Heather. And I guess I'll make a last few comments. I think what I heard from council around the table is that we are aligned with your recommendation for an increase of the 3.9 municipal levy and the 1.9 capital levy, 8% water and 4% sewer. I don't see any opposition to that, so I expect that we'll see that after comment on March 17th. You did a great job. As council said, the presentation of it was great. My very first council meeting, I always go back to the Watson's financial study. And we've always managed to be under that 4% increase that they've said. That said, so I think we are doing a good job. That said, it's always dawned on me that people are having a hard time. We see that with our bad debt, with our allowance for bad debt. So it's, our focus on economic development, on trying to build additional residential units or attract industry. And that's what I got out of it. That was my takeaway from your slide. We need to, focus on revenue generation. That's what's going to make our team's job easier. So, and that's our job as governance. And so that came out in your presentation loud and clear. So we'll continue to work on that as council. And I'll give you the last word on your presentation.
I just want to say thank you to the staff too. The directors, I found it seems to go so smoothly. You guys did a great job at doing line by line, figuring out really where you guys could cut, where you guys really needed your funds and stuff like that. So thank you for making it easy for me.
Perfect. Great. And with that said, you can sit back, relax a little bit. We'll move on to adoption of minutes. 5.1 Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. May I please have someone to make a motion to approve as presented? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon. All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, new business, 6.1 zero tolerance policy. Mr. Patterson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have a relatively short policy for council's consideration tonight. This policy comes from a couple either incidents that we experienced at the community center or that our community experienced in other places, as well as specifically the NOHA, the Northern Ontario Hockey Association, noting that there's been a significant increase this year in abuse towards coaches and officials. So we have a very successful Tournament of Champions coming in a couple weeks. That TOC has managed to attract 9 teams, which is going to be the biggest TOC that we've ever hosted. So great job to the organizers of minor hockey. And certainly, I think we all agree in Wawa that we don't want to see that happen in our community. So we are trying to get a little bit ahead of it. And so I put forward a policy that I think is fairly self-explanatory. It essentially says that we just don't tolerate that type of behavior within municipal facilities. and there'll be some specific consequences, mostly removal, for people who act that way within municipal facilities. So probably the most important page is the final page, because that's the poster that I'm hoping to put up throughout the community center before big tournament weekends, to just remind folks coming in that the expectation is that it's a very family-friendly environment. We want people to have fun and come and recreate and have a safe space for them to do that. So that policy is within there for council to take a look through. I have also sent that policy and that poster to all of our user groups last week as well, looking for feedback. And so we're looking to compile that feedback next week and have the policy in a final form ready for council to pass on the 17th, to be ready for hosting the end of your tournaments.
Thank you very much, Alex.
I just have, air horns and bells, you want to ban them?
So, no. I put a provision in there for mechanical devices, with one particular target in mind. There's a drill-mounted train horn that hits about 150, 160 decibels, which I've had multiple complaints about from parents, specifically from minor hockey parents. So I have a little provision in that policy there that's essentially just within reason, right? So if someone brings in something that is so loud that it is hurting people and nobody can sit near them, they're going to be asked to not have that in the community center. That's all. So certainly, like, I'm a big cowbell guy, right? Really encourage people to come and bring things that are reasonable, but we can't have things that are going to hurt kids' ears.
Councillor Paddle?
I'm just surprised this wasn't in effect a while ago. It's just, people just got on board lately all over the place.
Yeah, we have, what I found in our policy review is we have 3 or 4 policies that have to do with specific bookings at the community center that have provisions in them, but we don't have one overarching policy. So for example, we had a bullying incident where some school bullying spilled over into the community center gym about a month ago. And our fitness policy says stuff like that in the fitness policy, but it's limited to membership, right? To use that example specifically, we had 3 members that I was able to revoke memberships for. The 4th person snuck in, didn't have a membership, so nothing to revoke there, right? So what our aim is with this policy is to provide a catch-all policy, right? It essentially captures anything at any municipal facilities. Could be town hall, could be the community center, could be one of the parks. No matter what, this covers everything. So it's intended to be a stopgap between some of the individual policies we had where we can take away people's bookings or things like that, just an overall policy.
Now you're putting it up front and center more than what it used to be.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you.
Councillor Cannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with bringing this one policy. I have seen it in my grandson's sports, the increase in violence, not only with the coaches and the referees, but with parents. And that can't happen when there's an event like that. Like, there should be always zero tolerance for that. And I agree with this policy 100%.
Thank you.
Councillor Hatfield?
I don't understand how we made it through. Because, I was involved in hockey for at least 25 years, and Kevin was one of our, big referees, and I don't remember that many problems like they have now, or is it, I don't know why it is now. What is the age group of the teams, the NOHA, I call it NOHA, but.
I'm gonna say U9.
Oh, the little guys.
1 second, maybe U9, U11, sorry, I should know off the top of my head.
Those little kind Kevin just picks them right off the ice and brings them to you to penalty box.
U11s.
11.
Yeah, U11s.
So that's Pee-wees? Yeah. Thank you.
Alex, like other councillors, I applaud the proactiveness. I was aware of the incident in Sault Ste. Marie, and And I think it's great that we do something before. We have a major tournament, as you're suggesting, so I think it's great, and I look forward to receiving this on the 17th. I encourage council to review the policy and get back to Alex if you do have any amendments or suggestions by next council meeting. But I've looked at it, I think it's awesome, and I think that's great.
Thank you.
So with that said, we will move on to next meeting date, 7.1, Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. And we will move to adjourn, 8.1, close of meeting. May I have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Rapato. All in favor? Carried. We will now move to our regular council agenda. We will call this meeting to order and note the members present at 7:21 p.m. Is there disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None.
Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Pato, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, announcements and giving of notice. There are a number of announcements on the agenda. I encourage everyone to please take a look at their leisure. Item number 5, adoption of minutes. 5.1, regular council meeting, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026.
Moved by Councillor Pato, second by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, as contained on pages 1 to 5 inclusive of the minute book, be approved.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, correspondence. There are 9 items of correspondence for council to review. As usual, I will ask Maureen to please highlight any items that she wants us to take particular note of.
The correspondence is of a general nature this meeting. I just would note 6.9, the thank you from the Solicitor General's office to Mayor Pilo and Councillor Pato, who at Roma met with the Solicitor General's office to request that the OPP detachment build be moved up as quickly as possible to be getting built. And so the lovely parliamentary assistant wrote the mayor to thank her and the municipality for the attendance at the delegation. I think that the fact that this is the one ministry that wrote an acknowledgement letter back, and I don't believe any others have, shows how well the mayor and Councillor Pato made an impression on the ministry, so we look forward to hearing some positive news. Otherwise, the correspondence is pretty general in nature.
I'll take the opportunity to highlight item 6.7, and that is a letter that Mayor Beverly Nantel and I wrote to the Ministry of Transportation regarding our winter highway maintenance across the region, which is so important and such a huge issue to all of our residents. And we're still working very hard on raising our concerns and trying to move that issue forward. So it's
Mayor, there was CBC News at 5 talking about that.
okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. Item number 7, consent agenda. 7.1, approval of the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Pato, resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, 7.2 to 7.5, be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. There are no items listed under notice of motion, so we will move on to item number 9, bylaws. 9.1, first, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3857-26, to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 3rd day of March 2026. Bylaw number 3858-26, to authorize municipality Wawa to enter into an agreement with the Sault Ste. Marie Innovation Center for GIS services. Bylaw number 385926, to enter into an agreement for engineering services with Crescent Engineering for the Algoma Beck improvements. And bylaw number 3860-26, to enter into a transfer payment agreement with the province of Ontario for funding under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program Health and Safety Water Stream.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 10, closed session. 10.1, moving on to closed session.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 7:25 PM in order to address the following matter pertaining to a legal issue. It's related to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board.
All in favor? Carried. We're ready? Item number 11, return to open session. 11.1, return to open session.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that council resume to the open meeting session at 7:53 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Number 12, business arising from closed session, there is none. Item number 13, next meeting date, 13.1, Tuesday, March 17th, 2016. Item number 14, 14.1, close of meeting.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that the meeting close at 7:54 PM.
All in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank everybody for their hard work tonight. Thank you very much.